Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Now, there's a lot to be said about this topic, and in all honesty, we're just gonna go ahead and get into it. There are three major events that happened in the past week that's a little bit hard to look over. We're talking about Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, and the sniper shootings in Dallas that all have to do with a singular but very complicated topic. Now, I touched on this topic just last week, and it's crazy that shit like this is coming up again, and in case you don't know what's going on, let's go through a quick refresher. Let's talk about the first event. Alton Sterling, a man who sold CDs and DVDs outside a convenience store, was murdered by two cops. Now, I didn't say taken down, I said murdered. If you watch this video, you can go ahead and form your own opinions. Reportedly, a homeless man had an altercation with him and reported that Alton flashed his gun at him, so he called the cops. So yes, Alton did have a gun on him. Alton then asked what he did wrong, which proceeds to him getting taken down and tased and held to the floor. In the video footage, you'll see a cop yelling that he has a gun, and then they execute the man, plain and simple. And once again, yes, Alton did have a gun. Eyewitnesses stated that he did not reach for his gun and that it was still in his pocket, and he simply asked what he did wrong. So now let's talk about the facts. Now, what we did see from this video is that after one cop had a gun to his chest and another to his face, they unloaded on him. They went up to his dying body and pulled the gun straight out of his fucking pocket. Now, Alton Sterling, if you guys do read the multiple articles out there, yes, he was a previous convicted felon, so no, he is not supposed to have a gun. However, that is not a death sentence. Now let's talk about Philando Castile. Now, he's a man who was pulled over for a broken taillight and was murdered by an officer. The officer asked if he knew he had a broken taillight, and he said no. And then he was asked to put his hands in the air along with his girlfriend. The officer then asked for his license and registration. He lets him know that it's in his right side back pocket, letting the officer also know he has a firearm on him. His girlfriend then lets the officer know that he is licensed to carry, meaning that he has a license to carry a firearm. He reaches for the back pocket as already told to the officer, then the officer proceeds to unleash bullets onto his body, killing him. Now let's talk about the sniper shooting in Dallas. This is something that by this time the video comes out, I'm not gonna know too much about, but let's talk about some of the facts. The murder of the police officers were racially charged, and this horrible event happened during a protest in light of Castile and Sterling's death. Before being taken down, the sniper, Michael Johnson, a member of the U.S. Army Reserve, told a negotiator he was upset about the Black Lives Matters protest, and he was also upset at white people, and that he wanted to kill specifically white officers. Now that all of you are caught up on this and we got the facts out the way, let's talk about this. There are a few things that are going through my mind aside from being outraged, pissed off, sad, and disappointed. Number one, there needs to be accountability. One of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, to why so many people are upset is based on the fact there is no fucking accountability. Officers who are human, who are prone, like every other person out there, to fuck up, are not being held accountable for their actions. People are finding out that if you have a badge, suddenly you are untouchable. That if you murder someone in broad fucking daylight with evidence and footage, you will not be held accountable for your actions. People are finding out there is no justice in their justice system. How sad is it? Cops and officials who know in their hearts that their fellow officers are wrong will not speak up about it. Fuck your blue veil. A good cop, who apparently are the majority of officers out there, will not hold their peers accountable for their actions. And that's fucking bullshit. Officers and government officials, if you will not do it, then who will? And that is a question to be asked. Who? Who do you think will be up in arms if the color of a man's skin is going to determine whether they get a bullet in them or if they get to see their family that night? Number two, people are apathetic and complacent to the fucked up things in this justice system. You may not know it, but from the excuses and reasons that I've heard from people shows how complacent people are when it comes to the problem. Now, mind you, I used to be like this as well too. For instance, people have said if he didn't ask what he was being arrested for, he wouldn't have died because he was resisting arrest. This is already fucked up, and let me tell you why. By saying that, you are also saying that anybody who asks an officer what they did wrong before being apprehended is reason enough to be shot. And we are okay with that. So I want you to stop and reassess what you're going to say before you say that statement, and tell me, how the fuck is that the norm? Number three, there needs to be a process of healing, and the issue needs to be properly addressed without violence. Now, we as a society and as a people need to fight against injustice. That right there is fact enough as it is, without segregation. Number three, there needs to be a process of healing, and the issue needs to be properly addressed without violence. Now, we as a society and as people need to fight against injustice without segregation. Right now, it has become an us versus them situation, and nothing is gonna come of this. Going up on a rooftop, sniping officers because you hate white cops doesn't bring about a solution and doesn't begin to help the process of healing. Personally, I think people need to stop looking at situations of police brutality and racial profiling as people complaining about nothing and look at it as a real problem. I'm just gonna use this as a quick example. How many times have we heard someone say, "Why say Black Lives Matter when all lives matter?" Listen, you dumb fuck, that's what Black Lives Matter means. It means that until people of color are seen as something more than second-class citizens and criminals, then we will not be on par with everyone else. Thus meaning, all lives matter. And to be honest with you, if you still don't understand this concept after I just broke it down in layman's terms, then you're a fucking idiot. Number 4, we need to be careful about how we take in media information, and I am responsible for this as well. The way the media is pushing out content about situations such as this is not helping. Yes, it brings light to the situation, but we also have to know how that information is being given to us and why. People, you have to realize news outlets and etc. could give a shit less about the content they push out unless it gives them a story. So for me, I feel that if the world burns due to their information, it doesn't matter unless there's a story to be told. If we are going to use media, we should use media as a way to bring awareness, but be smart about the information that we digest. Simply put, for me, all this shit is not new. This is not something that surprises me at all. It is something that has been a long time coming that our leaders and we as a country need to find a fucking solution. Everyone needs to address and recognize that police brutality, racial profiling, and an unfair and unjust justice system exist, period. It is not a fucking myth, it is a fucking fact. A man was murdered execution style in front of eyewitnesses, and the officers are saying it was just. A man reached for his license and registration as requested and was murdered in front of his girlfriend and 4-year-old child. Officers were murdered due to a constant push on media of police brutality and rising racial tensions that is forced down our throats by the media every day. So let's start an intellectual and progressive conversation right here. Let me ask you guys this. What more do you need? How many more Trayvon Martins, Eric Gardners? How many more of these cases need to be shown and highlighted for us to actually give a shit about this problem and to admit that it is an issue? So if government officials won't recognize it and the people that are supposed to serve and protect us won't admit to it, then what do we as a people do? How can we bring a solution about to this problem without segregation and doing it in a positive way? What do you think we should do? What is the solution to this problem?